Hello, my name is Chloe Peterson, the founder of Noelle Productions, and this is my photo and video workshop. So the first thing to note is that you can't just go out and buy a camera. You need to know how to run a camera, what are the settings that are actually part of a photo or video, and how to actually function them, and function them well when you are in a shoot or a session. That is what we're going to talk about in this video. The same settings are on both a Canon and a Nikon. The camera that I'm shooting this video on currently is a Canon 5D Mark IV with a 50mm lens, and I also have a Nikon D7500 with a 50mm lens as well. If I had to have a favorite, it would be the lens that I'm filming this video on right now, but this operates as a great second shooter. But typically the Canon 5D Mark IV is the camera I use for most of my photos and videos. The three settings that you need to study, practice as much as you can are ISO, shutter speed, and f-stop. If you can work these three functions, you're going to be golden at running your camera. All of these functions you will be able to change on a Canon at the bottom of your screen. On a Nikon, you will have to adjust it by hitting that dial, but on a Canon, you will see it as on the bottom of your screen. You'll just hit that button and then adjust the dial accordingly. So let's go over ISO first. The definition, or how I view ISO, is how much artificial light is going into your camera. The range ranges from 100 all the way to about 3200 on your camera, and you adjust that setting on how much more light you want into that photo. So typically people like to go higher on their ISO if they're in a darker setting, and then people use a lower ISO in a more lighter setting like the one I'm in. My experience, I always shoot ISO 100. Honestly, that is where I keep my camera. I really, honestly, rarely touch my ISO. Pro tip, this is something you should write down. Do not put your ISO on auto ISO. That takes away your control of how much artificial light is going into your camera, and you could end up getting a photo that is really grainy when it didn't need to be. Set your camera at ISO 100. That is where you are going to have the most crisp photo, and that, honestly, unless you're going for a grainy look, you want your photo to be crisp. If you can take a picture, take a video without adjusting your ISO, that is the way to go. The only time that you really want to adjust your ISO is if you are really in a dark setting, you have your shutter speed already really high, or your f-stop is really high, and there's no way for you to keep putting light into the camera. Then that's when you adjust your ISO. ISO should be your last resort for putting light into your camera. Keep your ISO at 100 and you will thank me later. So that is basically all that you need to know about ISO. Thank you for watching.